These are the top 10 worst American cities at the moment to buy a home. Places where houses are simply too expensive and there's a good chance they will fall over the next several years. In fact, in some of these cities, like Las Vegas, which is ranked number 10, the recession has already begun. Arguably, the biggest problem in the housing market in Las Vegas is the complete lack of affordability. Home prices have fallen by 5.4% over the past year, and still have a further 23% to go before reaching their fair value of $310,000. Right now, purchasing a home in Vegas would cost you more than $400,000, with an average monthly mortgage payment of $2,700. The typical family income in the metro is just $67,000 annually. This means the average Vegas resident must spend 45% of their total income to own a home. Nashville, Tennessee is the 9th worst American city to buy a house in at the moment. During the epidemic, a large number of investors arrived and purchased Airbnbs. However, they are no longer doing so. Redfin data indicates that investor purchases have dropped by over 60% in the past year, which means Nashville's local home buyers are now the ones who must sustain the market. This is a significant issue because the average Nashville resident makes $76,000 annually. Yet the annual payment they must make for their mortgage and property taxes is about $35,000. Even though the long-term historical average is just 23% of income needed to acquire a house, that represents 44% of their income to buy a house right now. In the end, Nashville's housing market worries experts because it's a city that has never seen a significant housing crisis. Therefore, not many in Nashville believe it's possible. But according to the statistics, Nashville's housing market is among the most overpriced in the country right now, and prices must drop by 35% before they can be afforded at the long-term historical levels. The number 8 worst city to purchase a home is Miami, Florida. In the past, recessions have typically destroyed Miami. Miami's unemployment rate reached 11% during the height of the most recent recession in 2010. It also reached 9.4% during the early 1990s recession, meaning that the current rate of 2.3% likely won't last. That will skyrocket in the next months and years, making selling in Miami's real estate market extremely difficult. Given that Miami's affordability indices are among the lowest on this list, experts' concern for the market is that when distressed selling takes place, no one will be willing to purchase. The typical Miami property buyer must come up with $3,000 per month to cover the cost of the mortgage, interest, taxes, and insurance. This is $36,000 per year, or 55% of the $66,000 median salary in the area. Miami has a low median income because, like Las Vegas, it is mostly a service-based economy with a large number of low-paying jobs. The likelihood of a significant downturn is significantly increased since wages have not kept up with inflation, rent hikes, or the cost of homes. The number 7 worst city to buy a home is Portland, Maine. Portland has a very deceptive housing bubble, with prices skyrocketing in the previous several years. An average house used to cost around $300,000 in 2020, but by 2023, prices had risen to almost $500,000. That is a 40% rise in only 3 years. Many folks from Boston and New York City are relocating up to Portland and purchasing second homes, which is what's driving that value. Right now, it's difficult to locate anything close to the city center on Zillow for less than $600,000. Portland has managed to maintain these rates for the past year thus far. Analysts nevertheless doubt that this will hold true in the long run. To put it plainly, the residents cannot afford their expenses. Portland's housing payment, as a percentage of median income, is now 49% for the typical local home buyer. The number 6 worst city to buy a house is Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is another location where the decline in property prices has already begun. The price of a home has decreased by 5% in the past year, but similar to Las Vegas, it's still incredibly overpriced, with 30% greater downside potential if Phoenix prices return to their historical norms. Phoenix's housing market is being plagued by a wide range of issues regarding local income. Phoenix's rents are declining along with housing prices as a result of the sharp decline in Airbnb income, a hint that the metro's overall demand for homes is declining. The number 5 worst city to buy a home in is New York City. Many left New York due to its exorbitant cost of living, but the expense of living hasn't decreased all that much. The average price of a house in Manhattan is currently $1.25 million. The fact that costs are absurdly high even outside of New York City in places like Westchester, Northern Jersey, and Long Island is what makes the region so costly. For example, a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in Bronxville, about 15 miles north of New York City, would cost $1.6 million. At the current mortgage rates, purchasing this property would come with a monthly payment of $11,000. The fourth worst city to buy a house is San Francisco, California. On this list, San Francisco has the most expensive real estate market. The average cost of a home in the 5 million person metro region is more than $1 million. That's after prices in the region dropped by 10%. But it's still far higher than it was in the past, suggesting that the Bay Area's prices have further room to fall. Numerous problems related to San Francisco's quality of life also exist there. The primary economic engine of the area is declining. There is a lot of violence in the urban area, the tech sector is experiencing a recession, and less people are visiting the city. The third worst city to buy a home in is Sacramento, California. A property in Sacramento may cost as much as $565,000, a 7% decrease in pricing over the previous year. It's still probably too expensive since Sacramento residents can't afford it. In the metro region, the price range for a typical 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home is between $500,000 and $600,000. When it comes to your payment, the monthly cost is more than $4,000. Given that the median household income in Sacramento is $85,000, it is a problem. Therefore, if the average monthly cost of purchase is $4,000, it amounts to $48,000 per year, or more than half of the area's total monthly income. Riverside, California is the second worst city to buy a house. In terms of being overpriced, pricey, and having a significant chance of losing jobs during a recession, Riverside fits every single criteria. Many residents who purchased in the city in 2006 and 2007 had their property values drop by 50% over the following 5 years. Although analysts do not believe that prices in Riverside will drop by 50% again, they may drop by 20 or 25, especially given the history of the city's economy. The worst city in the country to buy right now is Orlando, Florida. Orlando's real estate market is currently 27% overpriced. The current average home price of $375,000 may drop to $250,000 if local prices revert to their long-term historical norms. Given that Orlando's median household income is $68,000, the typical buyer must spend 44% of their gross income to make the monthly payment. Analysts are more concerned about Orlando's economy than they are about certain other Florida cities because of how vulnerable it is to recessions and downturns. There, tourism is the main source of employment for everyone. Families take family vacations to Disney, which leads to a large number of low-paying service employment in Orlando that sustain the local housing market. So be careful if you plan to purchase in the Orlando area. We appreciate your time. Subscribe to the channel for more content on real estate and investing.